What a week it's been across the UK. Winter truly showed off its full range of moods and surprises. From the very start, the country was plunged into a classic wintry spell, with scenes that could have been plucked straight from a postcard. The air was sharp and invigorating, and the landscape transformed into a frosty wonderland, reminding us all of the season's beauty and unpredictability. Each morning we found ourselves layering up against a biting northeasterly wind. Commuters braved the chill, wrapped in scarves and thick coats, their breath visible in the crisp air. Pavements glistened with frost, and the familiar sound of ice scrapers echoed through neighborhoods as drivers prepared for the day. Even the simple act of waiting for a bus became a test of endurance, as people huddled together for warmth, cheeks flushed from the cold. For a time, high pressure dominated, keeping the weather cold, dry, and beautifully crisp. Mornings began with dazzling blue skies stretching over frosted fields, and the low winter sun cast long, golden shadows. But as the week progressed, a subtle shift began. Milder Atlantic air started to nudge its way in from the west, gradually softening the chill and hinting at a change to come. The sharp, invigorating winter sunshine slowly faded, replaced by a thick, unbroken blanket of cloud that stretched from coast to coast. The days grew noticeably grayer, and the light more subdued, as if the country had been tucked under a giant duvet. The mood shifted too. Gone was the sparkling clarity of early winter, replaced by a more muted, introspective atmosphere. In the north, especially across the Scottish hills and highlands, snow flurries danced on the wind, dusting the landscape in white and adding a touch of magic to the rugged scenery. Meanwhile, further south, the story was one of drizzle and damp. City streets glistened with rain, and the air felt heavy and raw, a reminder of just how varied British winter weather can be, even within a single week. It was the classic British winter in action, a constant tug-of-war between cold and mild, sun and cloud, frost and rain. One moment, you'd be greeted by a sparkling, icy morning. The next, a gray drizzle would settle in, blurring the horizon and dampening spirits. The weather seemed to change its mind as often as we changed our coats, keeping everyone guessing and always on their toes. By the end of the week, temperatures had crept up closer to the seasonal average. The hard, glittering frost that had defined the mornings began to melt away, replaced by damp pavements and the steady drip of water from rooftops. Umbrellas became a common sight once again, as people navigated the wet streets, and the city lights reflected off the slick surfaces, creating a moody, atmospheric glow. As the week drew to a close, the stage was set for the days ahead. Would the milder, cloudier theme continue, or was another cold snap lurking just around the corner? The countryside was shrouded in mist, and the ever-changing sky hinted at more surprises to come. It's a time of transition, with the weather poised delicately between winter's grip and the first whispers of spring. The atmosphere is in flux as January draws to a close. Swirling clouds race across the sky, and the landscape seems to hold its breath, waiting to see what the next chapter will bring. It's a reminder that, in Britain, the only thing you can count on is change, especially when it comes to the weather. So, as we turn the page to February, all eyes are on the forecast. Will we see more rain and cloud, or will winter return with a frosty encore? One thing's for sure, the story of the British winter is far from over. Stay tuned to see what February brings. As February arrives, everyone's wondering, will the weather finally shift? The answer, not dramatically. Atlantic systems still dominate, bringing a westerly or southwesterly airflow. This keeps temperatures milder than earlier in January, but also means more moisture. So expect cloud and rain, not sunshine. Gloves may go away, but umbrellas stay out. The week ahead looks unsettled, with rain bands sweeping through and only brief dry spells. The battle between high and low pressure continues, but for now the Atlantic's mild, damp influence wins. The real cold is locked to the north for now. February starts as January ended, mild, cloudy, and changeable. This week, the UK splits in two, mild and damp in the south, colder and wintrier in the north. The jet stream sets the boundary. Southern England, Wales and the Midlands get above average temperatures but lots of cloud and drizzle. In the north, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Northern England, colder air lingers, and when moist Atlantic fronts arrive, snow falls on the hills and mountains. The Scottish Highlands could see significant snow, while the south stays frost-free, but gloomy. Travel from London to Glasgow and you'll experience two seasons in one day. The dividing line between rain and snow will be key for forecasters. It's a classic UK weather split, mild and grey versus cold and bright. As we look ahead to the coming week, it's clear that the weather is about to take center stage across the UK. Rain is on the move, and while some of us might escape with just a few drops, others will need to keep their brollies close at hand. The big question is, who's in for a soaking, and who might just dodge the worst of it? Powerful Atlantic weather fronts are gearing up to sweep across the country, bringing spells of rain to every corner of the UK at some point this week. These systems are driven by strong westerly winds, pushing bands of cloud and rain from the ocean onto our shores. No matter where you are, you'll likely see some wet weather, but the timing and intensity will vary quite a bit depending on your location. The western side of the country is set to bear the brunt of the rain. Areas like Scotland, the Lake District, Wales, and the West Country will see the heaviest and most persistent downpours. The reason? The hills and mountains in these regions act like giant sponges, squeezing extra moisture out of the air as the rain-laden clouds are forced to rise. This means not only more rain, but also a greater risk of it lingering for hours at a time, especially over higher ground. With so much rain falling on already saturated ground, there's a real risk of flooding in some spots. Rivers could burst their banks, roads may become impassable, and fields could quickly turn into temporary lakes. If you live in a flood-prone area, it's wise to keep an eye on local alerts and be prepared for possible disruption. Meanwhile, the east of the country will have a very different experience. Thanks to the rain shadow effect, where hills to the west block much of the moisture, places like East Anglia and the eastern counties will see lighter, patchier rain. Some areas may even stay dry for much of the week, with only brief showers passing through. In these eastern and southeastern regions, expect more drizzle than downpours. The rain here will often be light enough that you might not even need to open your umbrella for long. Instead, it'll be a case of occasional dampness, misty mornings, and the odd shower. Nothing too dramatic, but enough to keep things feeling unsettled. Across the country, the rain won't fall all at once. Instead, it'll arrive in bands, periods of wet weather followed by drier spells. This means there will be windows of opportunity to get outside between showers. If you're planning a walk, a run, or just a quick dash to the shops, it's worth checking your local forecast to time it right and avoid the worst of the rain. The start of the week looks particularly wet, with Monday and Tuesday bringing widespread rain, especially during the morning commute. Roads could be slick and visibility may be reduced, so take extra care if you're heading out early. As the week goes on, the rain will become more showery and less persistent, with longer dry spells developing by Thursday and Friday. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. After the rain, there's always the chance of a rainbow, and those drier intervals are perfect for getting some fresh air or enjoying the outdoors. Just be ready to dodge the next shower. So, wherever you are in the UK this week, keep your umbrella handy and your eyes on the forecast. With a bit of planning, you can make the most of the dry spells and stay one step ahead of the rain. Wind will be a major player this week, adding to the unsettled feel. Strong southwesterly winds will sweep across the country, especially in the north and west. Gusts could hit 50-60 mph in exposed areas. Expect travel disruption, especially for ferries and high-sided vehicles. Even in the south and east, it'll be blustery, rattling windows and making umbrellas a challenge. The wind chill will make it feel colder than the thermometer suggests, so dress accordingly. Each passing low-pressure system brings another burst of strong winds. Outdoor plans. Factor in the wind. It'll make everything feel colder and harder. The blustery theme continues all week with only brief lulls. The winds of change are blowing. Hold on to your hat. As winter draws to a close, and the UK landscape is swept by rain and wind, you might notice fog making more frequent appearances, especially during those rare, peaceful breaks in the weather. It's almost as if fog has a particular fondness for this time of year, weaving its way through the countryside and towns, transforming familiar scenes into something mysterious and enchanting. But what is it about late winter and early spring that makes fog so common? And why does it seem to appear out of nowhere, blanketing everything in a soft, silvery haze? The answer lies in the perfect combination of ingredients that late winter provides. Fog forms when moist air cools down enough for water vapor to condense into tiny droplets, creating that familiar low-lying cloud. During this season, the ground is often damp from recent rain, the air is full of moisture, and the nights are still cold enough to encourage cooling. Add in gentle, light winds that don't disturb the air too much, and you have the ideal recipe for fog to develop, especially overnight and in the early morning hours. One of the most common types you'll see is radiation fog. This forms on clear, calm nights when the ground loses heat rapidly after sunset. As the ground cools, it chills the air just above it, causing moisture to condense. Valleys are particularly prone to this, as cold air naturally sinks and settles in low-lying areas, creating thick, persistent fog that can last well into the morning. If you've ever woken up to find your local valley shrouded in mist, you've witnessed radiation fog in action. Another type, advection fog, is a frequent visitor to the UK's coasts. This happens when mild, moist air from the Atlantic drifts over much colder land or sea surfaces. The sudden cooling causes the moisture in the air to condense, forming thick fog that can linger for hours along the coastline. It's why you might see dramatic scenes of fog rolling in from the sea, swallowing up cliffs and beaches, and making coastal drives feel otherworldly. Of course, not every night brings fog. Strong winds can quickly mix up the air, dispersing moisture and preventing fog from forming. But if the wind drops overnight, all that moisture and cold air can combine to create a thick, almost magical blanket of fog by dawn. It's these calm, still nights that fog truly loves, and why you'll often wake to find the world transformed after a quiet night. Some places are more prone to fog than others. Sheltered valleys in southern England, for example, are natural fog traps, as cold air and moisture settle in these low spots. The southwest coast is another hotspot, where moist Atlantic air meets cooler land, creating frequent foggy mornings. These areas can experience fog so thick that it seems to muffle every sound, turning the landscape into a quiet, dreamlike world. Fog is also a perfect example of how quickly UK weather can change. One moment, you might be battling blustery winds and driving rain. The next, everything falls eerily still, and a dense fog creeps in, transforming the landscape in a matter of minutes. It's a reminder of the UK's famously unpredictable weather, and how even the most familiar places can look completely different from one day to the next. So, as you go about your day, keep an eye out for those telltale signs: damp ground, chilly nights, and a sudden drop in wind. Fog can appear when you least expect it, turning a routine morning commute or a walk through town into a mysterious adventure. Whether you love it or loathe it, fog is a fascinating part of the UK's weather story. And this time of year, it's here to remind us just how magical and surprising the natural world can be. Snow is in the forecast for the north, but predicting exactly where and when is a challenge. The UK sits between cold continental air and mild Atlantic air, so a degree's difference can mean rain, sleet, or snow. Scotland's Highlands will see the most reliable snow, but elsewhere, it depends on the ever-shifting boundary between cold and mild. Elevation matters. Higher ground gets snow, while valleys see rain. The snow line will move up and down with each weather system. A small change in temperature or storm track can change the forecast overnight. For the north, snow is likely on hills. For lower levels, it's a waiting game. UK snow forecasting. Always fascinating, never simple. With all the cloud and rain, will we see any sun this week? The answer, yes, but only in short bursts. The best chance for sunshine is in the east and northeast, where the phone effect can break up clouds. Even in the west, showery spells mean occasional bright intervals, sometimes with rainbows. Don't expect long blue sky days, but be ready to seize those fleeting sunny moments. The week is a mixed bag: rain, showers, and brief, welcome sunshine. When the sun breaks through, open the curtains and soak it up. It won't last long. Every bright spell is a winter bonus. With such changeable weather, preparation is key. Layer up. Waterproofs and warm jumpers will keep you comfortable as conditions shift. In the north and west, check travel plans. Strong winds and hill snow can disrupt journeys. Keep your car winter ready and allow extra time. Even in the south, wet and windy weather means sturdy footwear and a good coat are essential. Embrace indoor comforts. Books, films, and hot drinks make wild weather more enjoyable. Stay informed, stay safe, and find moments to enjoy, whether braving the elements or staying cozy at home.